Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know me, I am a figure photographer and this is all very new and exciting. It's something I've been thinking of doing for a little while and I thought what better place to start than with a collection tour. So I wanted to show a side of the hobby which I don't think gets highlighted enough on social media and on YouTube, which is that you can enjoy collecting figures, you can enjoy having a display in a smaller space. You don't need to buy every single figure that comes out. For me, it's about buying the figures that make me happy, it's about buying the characters that I love the most and the versions of the characters that I love the most. Anyway, I'm not very good at this small talk kind of thing, so let's get straight into the collection. Okay, so kicking off the Star Wars side of my collection, we're going to go with The Mandalorian. This is the chrome version. To me, this is kind of the definitive version of this figure. I know there's a couple of versions, there's a season 1 and there's like a plastic armoured version. Comes with a Pedro Pascal head as well as a helmeted head sculpt. I kind of don't really use the unmasked one because that's not really how he appears in the show very often. Comes with loads of weapons and of course Grogu. Probably won't bother upgrading this when the film comes out. The only thing that I think you could fault this figure for is maybe being a bit too padded under the armour. I know a lot of people have modded him and removed that padding just to get some more articulation out of him, but to me it's not really an issue. He's great as he is. So next up is another figure from the Mandalorian series, and that's Luke Skywalker. This was actually a wedding present from my lovely wife, so he has a bit of sentimental value as well, but I think it's honestly the best Luke that you can get. Definitely has the best likeness to Mark Hamill, which is weird because it's actually based on, you know, a deep fake. Comes with a Grogu, lightsaber of course, Jedi robes, and one of the droids from the season finale in the show. And yeah, I just think he's great. Rolling eyes, great articulation. He's a simple figure, but for me, yeah, it's kind of like the definitive version of this character, at least in the scale anyway. Of course, if you have a Luke, you've got to have a Vader. This is actually the A New Hope original Hot Toys Vader. And yeah, I really like him. Going back to the point I made previously, this is like, to me, the iconic version of Vader. That being said, as much as I like the mask and, you know, the kind of imperfections of this outfit, the gloves in particular are starting to flake. He's also not particularly posable, but I do want to keep him. So I am thinking of potentially buying the Kelly Studios leather replacement costume for him. So yeah, if you'd like to see a video of me replacing the suit, just let me know. And then from Vader we move on to Anakin. I know a lot of people have the artisan Anakin from episode 3 that just released, but I wanted an Anakin that kind of contrasted Vader. I wanted the kind of plucky, slightly rebellious and cheeky Jedi Knight Anakin. And the Clone Wars armor is quite iconic to me as well. And yeah, I think the likeness to Hayden Christensen in this head sculpt is fantastic. I know it's quite controversial, but for how I want to display Anakin in my collection, this was perfect. This figure probably has the best sculpted hair I've ever seen as well. And of course has rolling eyes and loads of accessories. Yeah, he's just great. And then the final figure in my Star Wars collection is Obi-Wan from the Obi-Wan TV series. I know a lot of people like the episode 3 one. They swapped the head sculpt out for the Mandalorian disguise head sculpt, which is the same but with rolling eyes. But to me, I wanted an Obi-Wan that kind of represented both Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor's interpretation of the character, and this is kind of bang on the money. He has Jedi robes, but also kind of has longer hair and a bit of like that desert hermit look that you kind of associate with an Obi-Wan who's been on the run from the Empire for years. My only real issue with this figure is the kind of lack of ankle articulation. It's a bit of a weird decision, but yeah, I can get past it when the head sculpt's that good. Okay, so moving on to the Marvel part of my collection and starting with what's possibly my favourite figure, the new red and blue suit from Spider-Man No Way Home. This figure is incredible. I mean, the proportions are great. The suit is like a perfect mix of Ditko and Ultimate Spider-Man, and the head sculpt is probably one of the best in my collection. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this figure. I actually like this figure so much that I don't think I would consider upgrading for Brand New Day. This to me is like just pure comic book Spider-Man. And then next up we have the Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange. This is probably the best Doctor Strange that's available at the minute. I think the head sculpt is great, and like every Doctor Strange figure, he comes with an incredible amount of accessories. It comes with an extra third eye head sculpt as well, which actually probably looks better than it does in the film, to be honest. My only kind of real issue with him is he doesn't have moving eyes, which as a figure photographer, it kind of limits what you can do. For that reason, I probably would upgrade to a newer version if there's one that comes out with Doomsday. And to be fair, I kind of have similar feelings about this next figure, which is the standard Mark 85 Iron Man. I chose this over the battle damage version just because of how comic accurate it is. Obviously Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom in Doomsday, but I believe there's probably a small to medium level chance that he plays Tony Stark once more. And yeah, this figure's fantastic. It comes with a nano gauntlet, has great articulation considering it's all die cast, but For me, the moving eyes, or lack thereof, is something I get hung up on, so I'm sure they'll either do a 2.0 or there'll be a new version from a flashback scene or something in Doomsday, so yeah. This next figure is one that divides opinion a little bit, and it's the brown and tan Wolverine from Deadpool and Wolverine. To me, the reason I prefer this to the yellow and blue suit figure that released is this suit's just a lot more simple. I do think the yellow and blue suit suffers a little bit from the typical MCU over design. The head sculpt on this one, yeah, it divides opinion, but for me it's actually more versatile than a lot of people give it credit for. The Hulk claw accessories, the mask, the switch out mouth plates, the rolling eyes, this figure is great. And then last but not least in my Marvel collection is Deadpool. This is the standard one, not the battling version. I was torn between which one to get because of the different accessories that come with each, but I think this one is kind of the more iconic look, so that's what I went with. And yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, from a photography point of view, he's just so much fun. I mean, Deadpool is always breaking the fourth wall. I mean, you can take pictures of him with Star Wars characters, with DC characters, and yeah, I just really love him. Probably has the most accessories of any figure that I've actually got in my collection. I actually made a unboxing reel on my channel, so if you're interested, check that out. So the last part of my collection is actually by far the smallest as well, and that's the DC section. Starting with the Hot Toys Batman from the Robert Pattinson film. I know people prefer the in-art, I'll get that out of the way to begin with, but to me, I think the skin tone and the sculpted hair are better than the rooted hair. That's going to go down well. Yeah, it comes with an incredible amount of accessories, batarangs, grapnel guns, a unmasked head sculpt, which is fantastic, swap out hair, he's brilliant. The diorama base as well is worth mentioning if you get the deluxe version, which I've got. I mean, it's modular, so you can switch it out from just the steps to a ledge. I was torn as to whether I get him or the Batfleck 2.0, but I opted for the Pattinson Batman just because I prefer the film. And then last but not least is Superman from the James Gunn film of the same name. Comes with Krypto, and yeah, this is just Superman. The bright colours, the head sculpt. I know people have some qualms around the head sculpt. I do actually think the in-art version that they've teased looks more like David Corenswet, but I think the stoic facial expression on both of their sculpts does a bit of a disservice to this portrayal of the character, and I think the Hot Toys head sculpt matches the tone of the film far better, so that's why I opted for this one. I'm sure the DC part of my collection is an area that's going to grow in time, given how many films and TV shows there are in the pipeline that I'm really excited about. Thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the collection tour. As I said, it's not the biggest collection, but it's one that makes me happy. Follow me on Instagram for more photography and figure updates. And if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you soon with another video.